show, I'm just struggling to get all the pieces together so it all works properly.
Well, you couldn't have much better help than with Benjamin.
Well, he helped me set up the buttons, but then when I did my test, it didn't work just exactly. There was something that didn't quite work, and I wrote back to him, and he told me I needed to talk to somebody else that worked there, was on vacation for a week, and then he suggested I go here. He said he said my issue was really more of a Zoom issue than a Zoom OSC thing.
Oh, you got some experts here.
What specifically is because I'm also an Ecamm user. What specifically is the issue?
Well, the thing is so I was using the Stream Deck, and I actually did a test. I have 5 guests on my show, and I'm behind the scenes. You don't see me. My 5 guests were there, and I was switching with my Stream Deck and everything on my Zoom OSC window. My switching was perfect. If I could have had exactly what was on that screen, it would have been great. But I was recording that, but when I went back and looked at my video, the video recorded was not what was on my Zoom OSC screen. I'm assuming I was recording the Zoom feed. I'm not sure what it recorded, but one big example is that I have one button on my Stream Deck I hit, and I get a gallery view of all 5 guests. And I was on that gallery view quite a bit in my switch, but my video, there wasn't a single gallery view recorded. It was
I wonder if you were if you were recording Zoom, then so Zoom recordings follow the host, generally speaking. So if you're the host, if you're recording to the cloud, then it will follow your view. If you're recording to Ecamm, then it wouldn't have.
Well, I'm not using Ecamm anymore. So Ecamm is now gone. I'm just using Zoom with Zoom OSC.
So I believe that Zoom recordings follow the host, the person who initiates the recording, I should say.
Which was me, but so I'm actually, I hit the record button in the Zoom OSC window, and I've been doing video for a lot of years, and so I've got a window with a red box around it, and I got a thing that says recording that's blinking. You would think I was recording what I'm looking at, but I was not recording what I was looking at. I'm recording. Honestly, I don't know what it was recording, but it wasn't recording what I was looking at on my screen. And maybe I have a setting wrong, or
what did you get on the recording?
Okay, so all the audio was fine, and I think so. He set me up my Stream Deck. He set me up. I have the ability to pin and unpin everybody, and then I don't know if you guys know the Zoom OSC or not, but and then also the gallery view, and so what recorded was the individual people talking. It was almost looked like it was the speaker view almost. So I'm basically going to take that, and I can create a gallery view in post production, but it's going to take me time and effort. So if I could just figure out the best way to record that Zoom OSC screen, I'd be set. But I'm not sure how to do it. Somebody told me I could zoom up the screen full screen and do a screen capture, but I'm not sure that's the best way. Are you familiar with OBS? Is that something
we are?
So is OBS something? I thought maybe that's something I could use somehow, because I also need to play videos in my show, and
you can use OBS is very much like Ecamm. It's the same. I mean, it's a broadcast switcher. It's a video production tool. So they really kind of do the same things. One is Mac specific. OBS is cross-platform, and it's free. Both of them, you can bring in interviewees, you can do overlays, all that other good stuff.
Well, I'm doing all that in post and Premiere, so I don't really need any of that. All I really need is I need to get that screen where I'm switching recorded somehow, and I need to be able to play videos. What I've been doing is doing a screen share, but that's a very clunky way to show videos, to do a screen share. At least I found it to be. Can I bring in the signal into OBS from Zoom OSC? Will it accept that? I don't know how these things connect. Like, can the signal from Zoom OS go into OBS? Does that make any sense? So that OBS is seeing the Zoom OSC signal, and then I'm able to play in videos and record.
Do you have a video switcher also, David? Are you using an ATEM or something like that?
I do have an ATEM, but it's.
I'm sorry, not David. I meant Craig.
Okay. I'm using a Stream Deck, is what they set me up with. Which is a hardware switcher, basically.
Right. We all know that, but you don't have so that's out of my league. I guess I have to defer to others, because I have a Stream Deck, but in the Stream Deck drives a video switcher that and a Blackmagic ATEM Mini Extreme.
Oh, I see. So you have it.
Our leader
Frank-
here is here.
So,
Jeff, what can you offer us?
Well, I'm back. Yesterday, and I forgot, I lost my NDI feeds into my vMix machine, and little did I know it was my vMix machine. But when I tried to screen scrape to stream today's meeting, I wasn't getting that feed either from a different machine even. So I thought it's got to be this machine, which is like, what, 3 minutes before game time, I had to reboot my primary system. So apologize for that late arrival. I think I've caught a little bit. Craig, good to meet you. Jeff Widgren here.
Nice to meet you,
And
Jeff.
anyways, we've got a few here. Greg Gibson's here. Looks like he might be doing some testing with Zoom ISO as well. But the challenge with Craig, it sounds like, is local recording, right? Is it PC or Mac based?
I'm using a Mac.
Okay. And are
Can
you
I ask a
doing
clarifying
single
question?
monitor or dual monitor in the?
I got a dual monitor setup going.
You know, that almost sound like is that a physical answer, like 2 physical monitors, or is that also you've told Zoom explicitly to run in dual monitor mode?
I think the answer is both. I selected dual monitor mode in Zoom, and I have 2 I'm using the monitor on my laptop, my MacBook Pro, and then I have a cinema monitor next to that. So I have 2.
Okay.
I got 2 different monitors. I can go back and forth. And
All right. So what I would recommend is going and then you'll have David chime in here too. Is I would recommend in going into your settings and taking it out of dual monitor mode and take it out of that, so you have a single window that represents Zoom. Put that on your primary Mac screen. Go ahead and maximize that. And then I am going to give you the rights to record locally. So you can now record locally.
Did you actually want me to do that? I didn't even want me to do that.
Baby, this is a workshop.
That's how it works, huh? All right.
A little bit of a talk shop, and it's
all
a
right.
workshop.
So okay. All right. So let me go figure out this. Okay. So all right now. Okay. Let me get this. So let me see settings.
Ray, can you check Facebook?
I will.
Zoom Test Kitchen Facebook page.
I will.
And make sure that's streaming. I know YouTube is.
Just for the speed of being in this meeting, where exactly do I find these settings? Is it in preferences, or is there a settings tab somewhere I'm not finding?
You can go on the bottom left corner of your Zoom window where it has mute and stop video.
Yeah.
Just do one of those little pop-up arrows, and either one of them will take you to either audio or video settings.
All right, so this would be a video setting. I see, gotcha. All right.
And then on the top left is general.
All right, got it. And then dual.
And then over to the right is dual monitors. Dual monitors.
It's not checked now, but So so one thing is I'm always accessing the meetings. Like I open up Zoom OSC and I sign into my Zoom account, and then I start the meeting right from Zoom OSC. So is that the way it's supposed to work?
It's okay if you're in learning mode and you just want to monkey with it and so forth. If you get to a point where it's more critical and you're on a job, the recommended practice is to have 2 machines, have one machine that is launching what we refer to as the vanilla Zoom client, the Zoom client that comes from Zoom directly, just the normal software. Launch that to be your host account. On a second machine is to launch the Zoom OSC client and join that meeting. And then from your host machine, you have to give that
switch the host
Zoom
over.
OSC client to just give them co-host privileges so that they can do what
the reason for that being is just memory and speed and all that type. Is that the reason for doing that way? Or
well, the Zoom client, I mean, part of it's kind of safety in the sense that if anything goes wrong on the Zoom client. So the Zoom OSC client is based off the SDK from Zoom, and that's always kind of a few versions behind, a short few versions behind, but it's always lags because Zoom doesn't release in parallel their latest client to the world and also an updated SDK. And so if there's any disparities there that actually, you know, cause issue, then all you've lost at the end of the day is your Zoom OSC investment that you thought you'd be able to switch with or whatnot. Now you just go, hey, grab the mouse, keep your job going, right? And so you have kind of a built-in backup system there.
Okay, that
And
makes sense.
so, and if you lose your primary as the host, Zoom will naturally roll it over to your Zoom OSC machine. Being the co-host, it will become host and keep the meeting up and going also.
So you make it a co-host. Okay.
Yeah. You have to give it co-host, otherwise it will never be able to actually execute Zoom OSC commands into the meeting. Yeah.
Is it basically a co-host and a host are the same in that regard as far as that the Zoom OSC is concerned?
They're very similar, but there's some things that only a host can do.
Okay.
The list is fairly short.
Yeah.
Recording in progress.
That was fun.
Is that Joe?
I did not do that, but I did.
No, that was
comment.
me, Jeff, trying to get, it's not running native in Facebook. It has the link to go to and the link is open, but the native in Facebook is not open. This is what I see.
That's the invite.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no. I appreciate that you did. I want to make sure that our audience out there can see the stream and discussion as well. Just a second. to peek
While
in
you're
on
doing
this.
that,
Yep.
while you're doing that, Craig, I just want to point out also that if you go into your Zoom settings and you go to the recording tab, there are different settings if you're cloud recording or if you're local recording. And so if you're cloud recording, then you can choose record active speaker, record gallery view, record active speaker gallery view and share screen separately. And then because you said you're doing a lot of this in post, you can mix and match it as you want. So that's another thing to be aware of.
Where does it say, how do you switch what is going on? I see the cloud recording at the bottom. How do I turn that on? Let's see. Add, choose location.
So if you, these settings are in zoom.us, zoom.us, and then go to settings.
Yeah, I'm looking at the thing with the general on the top and all the little icons. Is that the one I'm looking at? That's the settings, right?
No, are you in the app or on, you have to go to the website.
Oh, I have to go to the website settings.
Right.
Oh,
This is the web-based settings there, which are different. Than,
Yeah.
If you go to the bottom of the Zoom settings, there should be a button that says, advanced or something like that. If you click on that, it'll pop you into the web settings.
Okay. Let's see here. Okay, now I'm on the settings. Recordings. So now I'm on the website and I'm in the settings and I'm looking for what turns on cloud recording.
So you click on setting on the left-hand side, click on under personal, you'll see profile, meetings, webinars, recording settings, click on settings.
Okay.
Then up at the top, it says meeting, recording, audio conference, click on recording.
Okay.
And then the first recording is local recording, and then the second is cloud recording. So if you want to record to the cloud, then you should have all these options.
I see. Okay, so it actually is on. I don't know if that must have been on. So let's see. What are the choices here? Record active speaker with shared screen. Now, this is the screen I'm recording. This is the Zoom meeting itself. So what I'm looking at the Zoom OSC window, that's different than this Zoom window, I guess, because that's why Let's see, record gallery view with shared screen. Maybe that's the problem. The second button down says record gallery view. Is that possible?
So
Because
what?
that's not clicked. And that was the thing I was missing in the recording was the gallery view.
Did you record to the cloud or did you record locally when you had
Well,
issues?
according to these settings, it was I did both, but I don't.
No, you can't do both.
You can't do both.
You
So
can't
they're
do both at the same time.
they're both turned on here. So what does that mean?
When you viewed the recording,
Yeah.
did you view it in a browser after the meeting was over or off your local file system?
It was in my local file system.
So you probably did a local recording.
Okay. So if
That's
I did a
different than
local,
this.
if I did a local, then I didn't do a cloud, is what you're saying. It's one or the other, correct?
It's one or the other.
How do I
When you-
select which one I'm doing? Because this one had both turned on, both local and cloud is both turned on.
Yeah, well, when
Just
you
turn one of them off?
when you have the rights to record and you click record, if you have rights for both, it'll ask you, do you want to record to the cloud? Do you want to record local? And
Okay.
you select one. I think David's guidance here is good guidance in the sense that there's a lot more options in cloud.
And I'm wondering though, there's two buttons that were not clicked in their cloud recording options, and one says record gallery view, one says record active speaker gallery view and shared screen. I just wonder, do you think not having that record gallery view would have made it not record? No, I don't know if that, because when the buttons on my Stream Deck and OSA, they don't control anything going on with Zoom, right? That's totally separate, and it's like earlier in the stream. I know I'm not talking the right language here, but
So Zoom OSC does not have access to start and stop recordings. It sounds like Benjamin gave you a button to do that, but that button is going to be pointing to a global shortcut to Zoom to tell it to record. It's not a Zoom OSC command.
The recording button I'm talking about is right on the Zoom OSC thing at the top, just like a Zoom meeting. Don't they have a record button at the top there on the Zoom?
That's a status indicator.
Okay, that's just a status indicator.
It tells you that it is recording, and you can in fact pause it from there and stop it from there. But to start it, you have to start it from the bottom of the bottom toolbar.
So to go back to where we left off, you had said turn off the dual monitor, put the main.
Well, let's back up a second. Do you want to record local or do you wish to record in the cloud?
Jeff,
what do you want to do with
Spotlight.
the recording? Go ahead, David. I missed.
No,
that.
I was just gonna say you should take me off Spotlight.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Here's the honest truth: is that I don't know how much I trust the cloud, to be honest with you. I'm like terrified to record in the cloud and it's not going to be there. That's my fear. I don't use the cloud in any aspect of my life. That's how far behind the 8 ball I am on this. So that's why I've been recording locally. But if I have more choices on how I record, and that's what solves my problem,
it sounds like you're going to be doing post editing. It sounds like as well. I would say the only choice I would go with is cloud, because especially if you're going to post edit it, because then you'll have a recording of the gallery, a recording of the speaker view.
Really?
With shares and without shares. It does all these.
Oh, you get all that.
Go ahead, David, share that screen again if you would.
And I would get individual recordings of everybody as well, or no?
Not everybody.
Oh, okay.
So, we're going to walk.
Whatever my pins are.
We're going to walk and talk through these. Okay. So the first one that says record active speaker with shared screen means, and you have to visualize this in Zoom, understanding Zoom terminology and so forth. So even if you're not doing anything, it's gonna record an active speaker, which is whoever is speaking. That's the big screen. And if there's a share that's shared, then the share will become large, but the active speaker will still be seen smaller on the side. That's the result you'll get. The record gallery view is just that. It'll show the gallery, and if you throw a share up there, it'll turn that into kind of a thumbnail gallery. Plus,
and I'm going to get two separate videos with these things, right?
Absolutely.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Wow. And then the next one is to record active speaker, gallery view, and screen shares as 3 separate recordings: active speaker,
Oh, that's 3
full
separate
screen
videos.
active
Then.
speaker,
Oh, jeez.
full screen gallery view, and full screen shares only, which could be black video when people are just talking and sharing, because it's only showing the share, it's only recording the share. but it could be useful in post edit. And then you can get an audio track only on recorded audio file only. You can save the chat messages. And then there's some other options there under advanced cloud recording settings as well. If you wanted to scroll down, David. Yeah, and so you've got display participant names in the recording if you wanted to not, so that, you know, like when you republish it, you can not have the names for privacy. Thumbnails and so forth as well. Optimize the recording for third-party video editors. I'd probably recommend that, knowing that you're going to post edit.
What does that do, by the way? I was curious what that actually.
I don't know exactly what it does. Here, see if the help button there describes anything terribly useful for us here.
Enable this
compatibility. Yeah, it looks like it probably takes their compression algorithms out of it, because they say it will make it larger, and so it takes that maybe a proprietary compression out of it.
Okay.
Save the panelist chat, save poll results, and then save closed caption, as well as a separate VTT text file. So those are all your options. I can't say I have everything, but I have nearly everything checked. And then when I start a meeting,
how do I get those files after it records on the cloud? How do I actually access them? How does that work?
You know, David will show you right there on the left side. It says recordings.
Okay.
And that's where you go fetch your recordings.
Oh, so you come to the website and you get them from there.
Yep.
I see.
David, I'll jump in real quick with some data to show there as well. Let me jump in here.
That's okay. Well, I'm gonna have to start.
So here you go up there after a meeting, you go to recordings, and you can see that there's you know, a whole list of all the different meetings and so forth.
Okay.
You jump in and well, that's a bad example because that's this meeting right now.
That's easy enough.
Go to something in the past, and you'll see that you have a group of recordings, a screen, shared screen with speakers, shared screen with gallery,
right,
speaker only, gallery only, shared screen only, audio and chat. And so you have all those individual files. You can download all of them with this button, or individual ones with these buttons as you roll over them. And so you make that happen. And you can also, if you want to give somebody the opportunity to view these while they're still in the cloud, so you don't have to download them and do all that, just share it and set your authentication options for, you know, what they get to do when they're there. Send them the information and set the password that they have to enter when they go to view it, and the whole bit.
All right. Well, I'm definitely entering the world of the cloud, because it'd be stupid not to. All right. So I'll be doing that. Here's one last thing I'll say, and we'll get back to your original instruction. So one of the reasons I'm actually using Zoom OSC is part of my show. I have 5 people, basically. If you imagine 5 people in a conversation, and then if 3 people engage in the conversation, I have 3 people on the screen. Now I can't do that with Zoom alone, right? I can only do gallery view or one person. Is that correct?
No, you can spotlight more than one person in Zoom.
Okay, well that's what I'm doing with the Zoom OSC, is I'm spotlighting.
You don't even need Zoom OSC.
I don't even need that.
No, you just
did that right there. You just did it right here on the screen.
So I did it with the mouse, but I had to click on 3 different people, one each. When you do it with Zoom OSC, that's the whole thing. Is there's no
just one click
in Zoom is OSC. Yeah. OSC, if you knew who the 3 people were, you could make one button spotlight all 3 of them.
Right.
And or you could have one button for each person and just go click, click, click.
Yeah, that's what I have. I have a spotlight button for each person, so I can I can spot them and unspot them and bring them on.
Correct.
But how did you actually do that without that? Here, how did you do it actually to get 3 people on there?
All right, bear with me.
So there's the okay.
Yeah, basically you'd have to change your Stream Deck control buttons to add Spotlight rather than just Spotlight, or add a new button that adds to the Spotlight instead of spotlights them directly. If that makes sense.
I didn't
His
actually
buttons,
follow
if
you.
he's pushing 3 people's names individually and they all end up on screen, they set it up to be a toggle spotlight.
And that's what it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically when you hit person one takes the full screen. Then when you hit person two, then person two takes the full screen right now. What you need to do is reprogram those buttons so that when you hit the second person, it adds them to the first person.
Yeah, that's what that's the way it does. That's the way it's set up. Yeah.
Oh, it does. Okay. Then
No,
The
that's
problem
what
the
you
problem is it didn't record that though, or it didn't record
No.
the gallery views is what it didn't record. So
need. Okay.
You know.
so that goes back to what you said originally was that so I'm actually thinking
How many people were in the Zoom?
I got 5 people in the group,
Okay.
and then I'm off screen.
And you're not pinning videos, are you?
I don't think there's any pins. No, it's just
Because
spotlights.
because pinning does not affect recording, but spotlighting does.
Okay, so yeah, I don't have any pins. It's all spotlights. I just
So if you spotlight someone, that will affect what the recording looks like.
basically what he gave me, I'm using a Stream Deck which has 3 times 5, 15 buttons. I'm not using them all. The top 5 row is a spotlight for each guest. And then he gave me 1 button for gallery view. He gave me 1 button for speaker view. He gave me 1 button to clear all the spotlights. So if I hit that, all the people become unspotlighted. And then he gave me a share screen and a non-share screen. Now those are the only buttons I have, which is enough.
Right. So you might want to check. So I have a button on my Stream Deck that allows me to toggle between gallery view and speaker view. If Jeff spotlights someone, my Zoom will automatically go into spotlight mode. But if I press that button, I'll go back to gallery view. But that's not changing the fact that someone is still spotlighted. Yeah. So you need to check. One thing you might want to do is make sure that the way they set up that Stream Deck button is that it isn't just changing your personal view from what you're seeing from active speaker to gallery view, because that will not affect the fact that you're recording someone who's spotlighted.
I wanted to ask about OBS again, because I've looked at it and I need to play. So I have these 5 people. In addition to the 5 people, I have to play videos occasionally into the stream or into the recording. And right now he set me up with a share screen, and I'll do the share screen and I'll have my desktop and I'll play the video on there, but it's very clunky for me. Whereas when I looked at OBS, there's you could load a video and just play it. And so I'm wondering if there's a way that I could somehow, I don't know how OBS, I guess this is not even a question for here because this is not or is it? I don't know.
All of
Greg, are you adding the video in post?
I'm editing it live, but then I'm adding all the graphics and I'm adding, a lot of, bells and whistles to the show. I'm adding music and bumpers and all that kind of stuff.
But do you need to add the video in live? Can you add the video later?
It's not difficult to do. I use Ecamm Live, right?
Right. And Ecamm Live, by the way, was very easy to use. It was it was perfect, except Skype was just failed all the time on us.
Well, I don't use Skype. There's a built-in interview feature.
Oh, but you see, the problem is it only has 4 interview people, and I got 5 guests.
Right. So
that's my problem.
For example, so I'm coming into Zoom using the virtual camera, and OBS has this also. It's just a plugin. And then if I have a scene set up with a video.
This is in Ecamm, right? Are you using?
Right.
What are you using exactly? How are you doing what you're doing? You're using Ecamm and Zoom, or what are you doing?
Yeah. So all of these Ecamm, vMix, OBS, they're all broadcast production software. And what they've done, all of them this past year, is they've all created virtual cameras so that you can bring the production into Zoom. So you simply enable the virtual camera, and then in Zoom you choose as your camera, you use you choose either Ecamm virtual camera or OBS virtual camera or whatever it is. And then whatever you're seeing in Ecamm is exactly what will be seen in Zoom. So I have a video that I've brought into Ecamm, and again, the same is true for OBS. You can bring a video in, and then when you play that in OBS or in Ecamm, it will, because you've chosen that app as your camera in Zoom, it will also play in Zoom.
I apologize. I don't fully have a so are you using Ecamm as your cutting? That's where you're doing your cutting and stuff?
Yeah. So I can so you're now looking at my desktop.
Yes. Okay, that's Ecamm
All
right there.
So this is Ecamm, and you can see that I'm in the middle there.
Yes.
And if I wanted to switch to a video, I have to find the video. I don't know if you're.
Yeah, I mean, I've been using this for a long time. It's a wonderful. I love Ecamm. It was a great interface for what I was doing. We actually did 9 shows with Ecamm, and it was great. But then on the 10th show, Skype just totally went crappy. We were using Skype because we had to, I thought, and Skype just failed us completely. And we had celebrities on the show, and we had to pay everybody. It was a disaster. And my producer said, "You can't ever let that happen again."
Right.
It's been it's been 2 months later, and I still haven't figured out how to make this work. And everybody's angry at me because nobody's getting paid. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to shut up and listen.
In Ecamm or OBS or any of the others, you go to where is it? For me, it's an output, and then virtual camera. You just make sure it's turned on.
Okay.
And then in Zoom, let me bring my Zoom window down here. Then in Zoom,
oh my gosh,
in the video, you just choose the virtual camera. And then whatever you do in Ecamm or OBS or vMix will be shown in.
But how do you bring people into the Ecamm meeting? Through Zoom? Because that's how are you not using Skype?
Because Ecamm has a built-in interview function.
Yeah, but I have 5 guests. That's the problem. They only handle 4.
So
I have 5 guests.
So you can bring them all in via Zoom if you want. There's no reason why you can't.
So I do a Zoom meeting. I start a Zoom meeting with 5 people, or do it at Ecamm. I don't understand how I get 5 people into Ecamm without using Skype. That's where I'm like, because if I could do what you're saying right now, if I could use Ecamm but use Zoom as the connector, oh my gosh, my problem is solved.
All right, so here's what I might do. Here's what I might do. So I'm going to start a new meeting I have a second computer here.
So maybe do I need another computer? Is that if I have another computer, then I can add that 5th guest or something? Is that what I'm missing? Is the second?
That could certainly help. There's no doubt about that.
Okay.
So I have.
And when you use their interview mode, that's just using their own technology, right? That's not. Is that what you're using? Is their interview mode to connect on Ecamm?
No. Wait. Hold on a second.
Okay.
You're going too fast here.
Okay.
So
I'm kind of excited because this.
Right. So I'm going to bring in, what I'm going to do is by the way, Jeff, if you want us to do this offline, because
I apologize. I'm kind of taking all this time, but I really need help and I don't know where else to go.
Right. Can I jump in here, guys?
If I can interject, I will say what I'm hearing. I do it. David does it. A few of us do it, and so forth. We get it, but I can promise you that this is not a 60 to 2 hour education. In the context of the conversation we're in right now, having a Zoom meeting, be a call manager, and then taking it out to Ecamm to brand it and polish it and then feed it back in and so forth. There are complexities that are involved there that I can promise you is not an overnight learning process. Otherwise, everybody and their brother would be doing it, easily. And so it's not that I'm afraid to have those conversations and moments and so forth, but I also get the sense that there's some foundation that really needs to be in place, with you, Craig, that we can help with as well.
Okay.
Foundation of Zoom, spotlighting, even a little OSC maybe. We meet just like this yesterday, every Thursday, for the Zoom OSC test kitchen, and then today is a Zoom focus for Zoom test kitchen.
Oh, so Zoom OSC is actually a different meeting. I see.
Yeah, we split it off just because
Okay.
you know, it's close, but it really has and deserved its own focus. So, you know, I would say, you know, we know you're here. I'm certainly not saying leave. But we all understand where you need to get to, and I think we should slow paddle our way into helping, you know, share and build a foundation to help support this more than anything else. I mean, we're not even close to a recording conversation right now, and that's where we started.
Yeah.
And so I know I appreciate your energy and your excitement about it, but at the same time, it's really hard to stay focused.
Yeah.
Who's giving us that feed? Sherman.
Yeah.
Sherman. Yes, sir. But I mean, you know, Sherman's got an example here, for instance. I don't know if he's using Zoom ISO maybe, but he's pulling us out of the meeting live and then feeding us back in. So it's all very doable, but but the fact is it's, you know, it's not a quick, easy.
Is there a way, perhaps, David, you and I might be able to talk somehow? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Just go to TorahTechGuy.com.
Oh, that's great. Because that's, by the way, we're only doing the Torah. We're only doing Old Testament. So
yeah,
Torah.
TorahTechGuy.com. Happy to help.
TorahTechGuy.com. That's it, huh?
Yep.
All right. Thank you. All right. Well, and then as far as me maybe getting better up to speed or getting my initial, you know, stuff under my belt, do you have a suggestion for me in that regard? Just YouTube videos or?
Well, I mean, the Zoom test kitchen is a great place to be. We got,
okay.
And we can, you know, we don't have, you know, like a hardcore agenda. I advertise kind of a security conversation today, but we always come in with, you know, being flexible as well, and you know, respond to, you know, the needs of our attendees more than being agenda driven. So that part's good. And so, you know, it's I think really, you know, I get staying on track with, you know, let's help our friend Craig out here. I think we should just slow down, back up, and let's talk about spotlighting and how to do it. You know, it's kind of like teaching somebody how to do math on paper with a pencil before you give them a calculator, and your paper on pencil is how do you do it in Zoom. Then I will give you a calculator and say, well, how do you how this is clunky. That's what you'll say at the end of doing it in Zoom. How do I do it more automated with these things called a Stream Deck? Now I'll say you hired that out. I mean, whether you paid them or not is here nor there. But you had somebody do that for you, and so now you've got buttons that that will do something, but it sounds like the foundation of really understanding how do you take those buttons off and see how is it doing that something, right?
I actually tried to do it. I tried to do it myself, and I couldn't until I finally had to pay them to do it.
Yeah, but you'll be empowered by truly, you know, having some of these foundational pieces.
Yes.
Because then you will be able to. What about when you grow to that sixth person, that seventh person, right? Like, can you go self-survive by adding that? And at the same time, you know, so you have 15 buttons. Does that mean you can spotlight 15 people? The answer is absolutely not. Not at the same time, because Zoom, with or without a Stream Deck and OSC, will only and ever let us spotlight up to 9 people at one time. And so, you know, kind of knowing that foundation and growing, because Zoom OSC doesn't break rules of Zoom. It just makes some things, you know, easier and faster is all. So, you know, I would say, you know, let's get you set up for, you know, let's manually set up. You had 5 speakers.
Yeah.
That you wanted. So if I were to share my screen, and I'll kind of clean up the space a little bit here. and I spotlight, right? And you go to anybody that you want, whether I start this in gallery view or I'm in speaker view, all the options are still there. So I can right click on anybody's video, David's, Ray's, mine, yours, and or same thing, click on that little 3 dotted button up there, same menu pops up. I find it a whole lot easier to be able to right click on anywhere on the video and say spotlight David. Now he's spotlighted and he's bigger on my screen. And now I can just say right click on mine and say add a spotlight. So these are the options. I can add a spotlight, which means I'm going to be spotlighted with David, or I can replace the spotlight, which means David's spotlight gets removed and replaced by mine. And then once let me go to add. So now I have 2 of them side by side. So that's a multi-spotlight. Now, if I wanted to stay spotlit or David wanted to stay spotlit, I can remove a spotlight and just remove David, but I'm still spotlighted. And then I can remove mine. The other addition here is if I spotlight me, myself, Craig, and then so I've got a 3 up, for instance. Then I go to Ray. Now I can add a spotlight, which will make a 4 up, or I can replace the spotlight. And if I replace the spotlight, this is where it gets kind of quirky in Zoom. It's like, well, what's the spotlight, right? The spotlight is the entire layout of spotlit videos right now. So replace spotlight with, I'm saying Ray, replace spotlight. So Ray is going to eliminate all 3 of us and just become spotlighted to Ray. And it's just knowing that, because these terms, many of these terms are either very similar or identical inside of Zoom OSC. And so you'll know what it's doing, but I have to do it with a mouse, 1 video at a time, where Zoom OSC will make it much, much slicker. And so I can replace that and instantly wipe out 3 and replace it with Ray. In Zoom OSC, the spotlight command there is to spotlight, and that's a replace, if you will, versus an add spotlight. And so that's that foundation. Other ways to potentially create what some custom setting you want. Understand, like, we only have 5 videos that are on out of everybody who's here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are not on and 5 that are on. What if you wanted to do either a screen capture record or whatnot, but anyways, take and get rid of these, and you can, if you right click on any non-video, it's called a non-video user, ones with their cameras off, you can hide non-video participants, and it just instantly cleans the screen up. That could be kind of a ideal record layout of especially if you're doing like a screen capture or whatnot to record the desktop. And so there's kind of potentially multiple approaches to making it happen. Well, knowing that non-video users or participants won't be shown, you could coordinate it, because if you have a small group, it's kind of an intimate recording session, if you will. Say, hey, Ray, you're not on this recording. Can you just turn your camera off? Go ahead and do it. And when he turns his camera off, boom, I didn't do a thing. It instantly turns into that 4 up. And now if I'll ask David, thanks for the recording, turn yours off. Ray, go ahead and turn yours back on. We'll have a brand new 4 up, right? And so when you're in an intimate setting, when everybody's just there to, make something happen, then you can do that. When you're in more of a production, that's obviously, not an option and so forth. But if you're doing post editing, you can have multiple takes and so forth along the way. So just kind of walking through some of those things. Spotlighting is an act. I call spotlighting a push. it affects the entire audience, where a pen looks really similar. If I if I were to pen myself, because there's a pen as well, first screen or second screen. If you're in dual monitor mode, that's why you get a first screen, second screen option. If I pen myself, because you're seeing my share, that looks like a spotlight, but it's not a spotlight in your world. I'm going to kill my share. Now you have the freedom to see gallery, whatever speaker, and I'm going to unpin myself. And now I'm going to pin on my computer, Craig, I see you full screen, but you don't. See, pin is a very local choice, and spotlighting is a push choice. And then there's a whole conversation around, so if I spotlight, you're telling me I can make it full screen on everybody's computer. Yes, until they choose a different view. When you're in a Zoom meeting, the same answer is not the same. When you're in a Zoom webinar, then it's much more commanding. And that is when I spotlight somebody or something in a Zoom webinar, it is absolutely a full screen push to everybody's computer, and they cannot change the view. That's because webinar is meant to be more of a broadcast tool, where we're in command, if you will, where meeting is meant to be collaborative. They can reach other tools. They can zoom in on, they want to see the title of the book behind you. They can pin you, right? So they get a closer view of your office, but it doesn't affect anybody else in the meeting. And so meetings, it will pop that spotlight up, but it doesn't take away their choice when you're in a meeting. And so just kind of knowing those behaviors as well. You thought when you were recording, you thought that it was, my guess would be your answer was you did a local recording. I don't think you did. I think you may have in fact done a cloud recording, because it makes a ton of sense that you thought you were recording naturally what you were seeing, but you got something completely different that really didn't even exist on your computer, which really leads me to say you probably did a cloud recording. You only had checked that speaker, view with share. And so it was recording something happening that you never even saw. The assumption was that. And so it's just knowing those behaviors. I mean, I use the word behaviors in the Zoom Test Kitchen all the time, because it's just a lot of things are documented, but there's a lot of behaviors that are not documented that you just need to, you need to work with it and work with it and work with it. I mean, golly, I've been hosting these things for, I think, going on 14 months now every week. And I'm still finding things and still learning things. I mean, it's kind of bizarre, and it's not solely because the tool keeps growing, which it does. It's just, we still keep identifying. And if you don't use it enough, right, then you forget. You're like, oh, exactly, damn it, and you miss something or whatnot too. So it, I keep swearing. These guys may have heard it. I keep swearing I'm going to make a video, and the very first thing out of my mouth is going to say, "So you think you know Zoom?" And it's not an arrogant statement. It's just and it's not to say what I know versus anybody else. It's this tool is a pain in the rear to really get under wraps with kind of behaviors and really kind of the way they program as well. I'll give you an example. I'll share my screen again. I have the gallery view. I'm going to adjust. I'm going to show all the all the participants now. I'm going to adjust the layout if I do it carefully enough, and make a custom gallery as far as the order. And then I can actually go to view, and now I can say, hey, everybody, you're going to follow my host order. And now if you're looking at gallery, you're going to see yours in exactly the same positions as mine is. Even if it's in a thumbnail view, because I'm sharing right now, if I take that out of the share, you'll see a gallery just like mine. And even while I change, if I move Craig to the top left, that'll snap right to and so forth. But my point being this is if I, tell you to stop following host view and I release the order, you can walk away from this meeting and go, oh, Jeff said I could, he showed us how to follow host order and it was under that view menu. You click on it, you go, it's not there. And that stuff drives me out of my mind, quite honestly, because, we've been really brought up in, the whole world of tech that if it's not available, it's grayed out, but it's not invisible. And for some reason, Zoom has chosen to develop a GUI interface that it hides it when it's not context, relative, and tuck it away. And I don't agree with that design at all, because it doesn't. I would rather see an option that's grayed out and challenge myself to figure out how the hell to enable it. Like, what do I have to do to get that available, and learn the rules that way, than not ever realize it's an option and go from there. So, some people will reorder. I'm starting to reorder my gallery again, and I reorder it thinking, I don't know any different. I shuffled it on my desktop thinking I'm the host, so everybody must be seeing that. And the answer is no. But then if I now go, oh yeah, I have to, click on follow host video order, because now it's visible because I moved one tile. At least one tile has to be moved first, and then that option becomes available under the view menu. And so there's just some real, there's some real quirkiness about the tool, and it just takes a lot of practice, and I think a lot of time, in places like communities like the Zoom Test Kitchen and study and so forth. So Ray, what you got?
Well, and if somebody raises their hand like this, it screws up the whole thing, and the hand raiser takes over the front.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and everybody saw that, right? If you were looking at gallery view, Ray instantly became your first video because he raised his hand. And the same thing, even if I have gone to the lengths of, like, I can't even drag and drop my videos to customize my gallery view right now because Ray's hand is raised. It gives me a pop-up error. So it locks me and the host into where I'm at. So if you couldn't, if you forgot to do a custom gallery shuffle to get all your speakers up top, but let everybody else be in the meeting, you forgot to do that, and then the meeting started and the activity is high enough and there's raised hands or this or that, you screwed yourself, because now there's too much activity. You can't reorder a gallery when there's spotlights on and when there's hands that are raised, and so it's knowing, like, where are these barriers at times too, knowing that these are all the things I have to do as the host before the meeting starts, otherwise I won't be able to do them. Yeah, David.
Yeah, I just want to say that in some programs that are using Zoom extensively, like office hours, you're not allowed to use the raise hand feature. You have to physically raise your hand, because it will rearrange everything, just like
it does. Yeah, visually it's very unappealing, right? Having things like that. Now, in the classroom, you might ask, well, why the heck did Zoom do that? In the classroom, the literal, K through 12 classroom, and so it is a beautiful feature to have, 20, 30, hundreds, if you're in college, of students in, and being able to actually see, like, how many video windows can be hosted in a single gallery at one time, and the answer on a PC, or let's just keep it to a desktop for now, because the answer changes on mobile devices, but primarily the answer is like 25 or 49, and it's either going to be a 5 across 5 down or a 7 across 7 down type layout, if your computer's capable, and or if you don't check the box for 49, it won't do it either. But just kind of knowing where those are. What point being is, if you exceed 25 or if you exceed 49, you're going to get multiple pages of galleries, And then a teacher truly won't be able to see somebody raising their hand, right, who has a question. And that's why Zoom said, the digital hand can be raised, and it sorts them up top. Digital hand raising can't be turned off in a Zoom meeting. It can be turned off in a webinar, because that's actually a real big problem. Fact is in office hours, they could, in fact, because they do run webinar, don't they? They're on webinar. So they could, in fact, turn the hand raise off, but I think they'd have to do it every time they start the webinar. It's
Well,
not something behind the scenes.
Hand raising in webinar is different, though. If in webinar, if you raise your hand, it allows them to promote you to panelist.
The way they react to it, absolutely. Right. But like, even if panelists, were causing the problems, right? Because they've always done this until this morning. They've got a new backend system for raising hands now, but or at least that they're toying with. But if panelists were using it, it would still sort them, right? They would move that hand raiser up, but you can, I think it said the under the participants window, you can, in a webinar, turn off hand raising. Yeah, but anyways, just one more check mark, of your pre-setup to a webinar. So, I mean, have we stirred up any other, any questions kind of so far, Craig, that
Oh yeah, I've been taking some notes down here. One thing that I thought of over and over, because as I've been trying to figure all this out, I owe so many people lunch right now, because I said, hey, can I get you on a test call? Because for me, I need to have like 5 people on my call to be able to test exactly what it is I'm trying to do.
Sure.
And is there any system for testing something like that, or I just got to keep asking my friends to join a meeting for tests?
Well, I will say that, I mean, that very description is the very reason the Zoom Test Kitchen was created. I mean, I was in exactly the same boat many months back, and I thought, why don't I mean, I was calling people and asking them, and I said, why don't I just host a meeting that's at a known day, known time, and if I have questions or tests, I know that on Friday I can test it out, because the test kitchen will be there.
Like, basically, I could mute all you guys and be testing right now, I guess, realistically, with this. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's what I was, just saying. Hey, if it was a local record, you can test local record right now too. But it's one of those deals where, that environment, there's the answer, the further answer is there are creative ways. But they're not just like simple out of the box solutions. There are some folks who have, figured out how to create, literally on like a single Mac, create 30 spun up sessions, client sessions, that inject virtual people into a meeting.
It doesn't really matter what my guests are looking at if they want to switch the view and stuff, but I kind of would like to force them to see what I'm kind of making on my end with the different people and stuff. What are some major differences between the two, and how do you even access the webinar?
It's a paid for licensing add-on to
so it's an add-on.
Your foundational account. I think it starts at the 40 a month, I think.
So it's just a feature you can add on to it, and then you can do webinars.
It is. It's an add-on to a meeting. You have to have a meeting account, or an account that hosts meetings, to be able to do a webinar add-on as well. So David's got that there, the webinar. It says,
I'll look into that some more then.
Yeah. But yeah, it's an add-on, and as long, my recommendation is often, I think anybody who's paid for an account or signed up for a Zoom account gets emails, right, from Zoom occasionally with promos, and especially if you sign up for a monthly subscription, which is, cost over time, cost a little bit more than an annual. And then they'll follow it up with some emails of, whatever, 40% off or 20, whatever the offers are, to convert you to an annual, which, from their perspective is smart. Yeah. From my perspective is like, hey, if I want to add something on, and I only have to pay for it for 30 days and then I can cancel it, that's the way I'm going to do it. Well, you can't add a 30-day webinar to a 12-month annual meeting account. And so I would recommend, especially if you're coming and going on hit and miss with customers, just know what the cost is, pass it on to the customer, get a 30-day account, get a 30-day add-on and pass it on, and then cancel the account after the 30 days. Yeah, David.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that now with Zoom Events launching, they've you can just do the Zoom webinar, or they also have the Zoom Events option for $20 more a month, which if you need registration and things like that could be interesting also.
Let me add, so this Zoom webinar piece that says up to 500 attendees, I'm pretty sure that you have to have a 500 attendee Zoom meetings account underneath that. If you go in there with an account, and we can ask this next week to the Zoom events people who are coming in the kitchen. If you have, so Denise, who just fired up the Zoom events Facebook page, she's out of Israel. She ran into this. She bought the 500 webinar from Zoom Events, and she was starting a real event, a paid for gig, because that's what she does. She was starting a paid for gig, and it stopped her from registering at 100 people, and it was because her meeting account was 100, even though her events webinar account was 500, and so she had to make up that difference.
Well, so I think the difference is that you can have 100 video panelists, but then you can have a whole bunch of non-video folks just attending. I think that's the difference.
Oh yeah. I see that note up there, if they've added some more clarity on that. But there seems to be a tie to your existing like meeting account, but I could be wrong. I mean, these will be the questions that come up, and this I did it in the email that I sent out, the email invitation today for the kitchen. I gave just kind of the first glance, and then since then I've had a meeting with the Zoom Events manager, product manager, and so they're committed. His name's Joey. Joey is going to come into the Zoom Test Kitchen a week from today, so next Friday, and give us a rundown of the Zoom Events platform and basic setup and what it all means structurally, and be able to provide clarity on licensing and resources and so forth. So that'll be good. And those will be no matter what. That boy. What do you got to look? Who is this? One of my questions was, I'm thinking if those meetings, if those Zoom moderators, if their responsibilities include, like starting a stream from Zoom or putting in poll questions from Zoom, some of those things that can only be done by the account owning host, not a host, but an account owning host, the person who scheduled it, or you can, like, if David and I were part of the same Zoom account organization domain, he could schedule it and he could pass host to me and I could start the stream. But if he were to pass it to, let's say, Ray, who's an outsider, he trusts them, but as far as his Zoom account is, it's a foreign account. It would not be. It would give you host control, but it wouldn't give you so much host control that you could start the stream. You have to be part of the same organization on a paid account, and so it's just kind of knowing those ins and outs. And so I was like, well, how, I can imagine there's going to be a Zoom events manager, that person who's going to go sit down for a day and build all those schedules and build out this whole conference of meetings. How is it that then I hire these moderators to come in and work under contract and expect them to have host control of those? And he briefly answered it, and it's okay. It's actually, better than I had anticipated. It's not dependent on their accounts or whatnot. It's all contained, it's containerized. And so basically it does, in fact, you bring them in as a person, you designate them role based, and they're the host, they're the attendees, and it all works out, which is great. But it wasn't my natural assumption that was how that was going to be handled. So it'll be a good dig into some new data there. All right. What else is trying to stay on a helpful track for Craig? Have you done any recording yet while we've been talking?
I haven't. No, I've just
No.
I probably should have been, I guess, but I'm pretty good with what you did help me. And I think you were probably right that I think I did probably do a cloud recording with just the one button going, and that's probably what I ended up getting. But as I'm learning and what I'm hearing and stuff, I'm starting to think about the fact if I record these multiple different videos in the cloud, ultimately I can put those into a timeline when I'm doing post, and I'm going to have most of, because I had almost what I wanted. I just didn't have my gallery view. So if I would have had that gallery view video, I would have been golden, basically. Oh, I do have a question. I can't get to 1080p, can I, without a business license? Isn't that correct? I'm stuck at 720.
He's unknowingly asking like the most popular question in the kitchen and the industry for that. Yeah, the whole how do I get high resolution? So let's I'm gonna walk through an answer with an exercise. Okay. So it's like, what's required? That's really kind of what say, hey, what's it take to, get high definition? One of the answers you said was fork out some money. And that's 1080. If we kept it in the definition of HD, that would also include 720 as well. And 720 is quite achievable. 1080 is a little bit more work or money or both. But then there's whole lot more to the story after that too. So I'll say thanks to the DVE store, you see the little bug on the top right of my video. They sponsor us with a 1080 account, a licensed account that absolutely can support 1080p. Now, so we'll never, if we don't see 1080, it won't be because of the licensed account, and then all the other contributing factors that will allow us to. So very first thing is, how can you even tell? And so I'm going to share my screen and point to this green shield with a check mark in it on the top left of your Zoom window. That will, if you click on that and then click on the gear on the top right corner of the pop-up window, it gets us to the settings menu. And what we're really interested in there is it default going in that way defaults us to not only settings but the statistics under the settings. And if we want to see and identify whether we're getting or sending high definition, you want to click on the video tab, not the screen share, but the video. And that gives us a way to monitor what's our definition and resolution activity currently. And so that's a way to look at it. So I'm going to keep that up and present, and I would suggest you guys do as well. If everybody on the meeting will go to gallery view. Now you'll probably see thumbnails potentially because I'm in the way. If you have dual monitors, you won't, but what the whole purpose of that ask was to kind of shrink, the videos that are out there. And I actually need to do that on my other computers here as well, because they are causing a pull. So I have equipment on this end as the sender, as the active speaker right now. I'm the one I'm going to talk about right now through my equipment as it travels. I have a camera, cabling, bandwidth, computer that's fully capable of sending 1080, and But the reason I explain that is that doesn't necessarily mean that it will until at least one person in the meeting requires it. And so right now, even though I asked everybody to shrink windows, somewhere, somebody here still is looking at my video large enough to still have me sending 1080. And it might, I don't know if it's because of the recordings or not. I've never really thought about that. I don't think so, but possible. Needless to say, they can vary very dynamically. And so just imagine if everybody's looking at gallery and there's no demand, like in a small video window in a gallery, do you really even have the room? Do you have that many pixels for 1080 across? And the answer is no. And so, but then if you pen, David or any of you can pen me on your computer, or I could spotlight me and cause the same thing, but I can cause my video on your screens to get large. That definitely, although we're not seeing supportive numbers go up and down right now, that will definitely cause the demand. So what happens is the Zoom servers are, up in the cloud. I'm here as a sender and a receiver, and you're there as a sender and a receiver. And while I'm speaking, the active speaker, and delivering my video for everybody to hear and see, the algorithm on between the server and you is basically saying, hey, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? Well, you're looking at gallery view, a small thumbnail, if you will, of my video. You certainly don't need anything more than, let's say, 360 or even 180 sometimes and so forth. So it will make sure that it can get that from me, the sender. And so it goes to the server and says, hey, I need 360. It says, okay, Jeff, give me 360 for, so they deliver it accordingly. But if then David pins me or I get spotlit by the host, now all of a sudden there's somebody who's saying, I want to see Jeff because I've got a large enough window with more pixels. And so it determines algorithmically and your bandwidth and CPU that you qualify to go fetch 1080 on your behalf. And now it's literally asking me, the sender, to send the 1080 high definition signal that it can then deliver to you as well. And so both sides of the spectrum can vary in bandwidth and resolution, you on the receiving side, me on the sending side. And that relationship is forever between everybody involved in the meeting. And so the demand has to be present. I can jump into an example. I have a wallpaper for my computer that has different resolution boundaries drawn out, and I can take a video window and I can stretch it. Just literally live stretch it while somebody's in there talking, and you'll see the statistics jump up in size of the resolution on the fly. And that's how extremely dynamic it is. And so back to your question of how to get high definition, 720, like I say, if you have a free account or even a paid account, a one-on-one meeting is going to be a high definition meeting. They don't put limitations on that, but they have this term called group HD, and that's when you hit 3 people or more in your meeting, then it starts making its evaluative decisions on resolution delivery based on your subscription. And so it starts managing them actively. And so at that point, Ray, thanks, and we'll see you. So when you get to that point, then let's say you're on a free account or a paid pro account, like $15 a month type account. How can you get it to 720 HD? The story said, the story usually sounds like this. You can buy a Facebook portal. You can buy a Echo Show. You can use a utility called Meeting Meters. Meeting Meters, here, I'll bring up Meeting Meters real quick. this is a utility that's being developed, but it's functional right now. You go to meeting meters, and so you start your meeting, you'll bring up meeting meters prepared to provide meeting meters the link to your meeting. And so when you get to its screen, you just have to paste the meeting link in there and try now with the link. And you see it says it's joining. It just joined. Watch the participants window. It's going to join. It's called Meeting Meters 0001. It's in the meeting right now. That meeting meters machine is going to disappear here momentarily as well, but that is it's a machine that comes from a Zoom room, and because it's a Zoom room appliance, if you will, its presence will bump the meeting's resolution up. And it will now it didn't do anything to this meeting because it's 1080 subscription, but if it wasn't, it would have just bumped us up to 720 even on its departure. And so it's good to go there. David, can you add some more to this? I smell something in my house actually, like it's burning. And so I'm going to go check on that. I'm going to mute and I'll be right back. Sorry for that interruption.
Oh my goodness.
I was smelling that too, Jeff. Go check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the only thing I would add is I always I always join every meeting that I'm running myself. I join from a where's my camera? From my Facebook portal here. Sorry, I can't hear me. From my Facebook portal, and I just leave the video off, leave the audio off, and yeah, and it automatically bumps up the quality, which is fantastic. So.
Facebook portal.
I've been in meetings where they've used meeting meters, but and a Facebook portal, you can get, there are lots of different kinds of Facebook portals. They're actually, let me pull it up for you. I've actually used them to join meetings. So they have a few different kinds. So this is the 8 or the 12-inch. But then this guy right here is really kind of nice, the Portal TV. If you you don't have real controls, but it's basically kind of looks like a webcam that you would just sit on top of your TV or something, and then you use a remote control and you can join. Zoom is an app that's built into Facebook Portal, and then you can just join a meeting right directly from this guy. It's nice. So I use the small one just to join meetings so that I can get that bump, and then I use, if I want to do something a little more, then I might use the TV, Facebook Portal TV.
Jeff, I'm glad at one point you asked me if I was recording anything because I started recording, and it's ever since then, that's all the stuff I'm glad I have, because everything before that I had, but everything since then, I'm glad I have it on tape now. So I'm glad you asked me that question.
And to that note, if you either while we're on or whatnot, I'll paste. We're on Facebook. We're streaming to our Facebook group, and we also are streaming to our YouTube channel. And so you'll get the whole program if you want to go back and review and so forth as well. So just subscribe to those. I'll paste those in here shortly.
All right.
Okay. So so meeting meters, the portal, but all too often I see posts out there of people who have, everything from people who have purchased a business account or got whitelisted by exception, because you can email Zoom and state your case of why they should upgrade you to, either 720 or 1080. And they sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. If you're on a bigger account, you're going to probably be favored a little bit more. Sometimes you might get an answer that you have to be on a business account at a minimum. Sometimes not. It just, there's
getting them to jump to 720 actually isn't very hard. I
720
sent an email and They did it kind of right
They
away.
just, they.
I asked them, and they did do 720, so they
Yeah.
bumped it to 720, but they
Yeah.
told me if I wanted to get 1080, I had to get a business account.
Yeah, yeah. And that's, you know, that's mostly true, or at least several. Like I could probably go if I had to do it all on my own without, you know, this sponsorship of DVE on this account. I've got 6 personal accounts, 6 individual accounts, 5 in one group and one off on its own. Combining those, they would. I'm pretty comfortable knowing that they would start a pretty decent conversation around that, and probably give me an entry point. They would still, they might go, you know what, why don't you get add 1 or 2 more to that, which would be like 8, and make it a business account. Like, they it's definitely, all discussable, and they're pretty helpful that way for sure. So they just want, they want your business, they want to grow your business, things like that, and it can be done. I did see a post the other day that I responded to that somebody was asking about 1080 on webinar. So what I'll say first, whether you've got 720, even if you were to go get 1080 some way, none of those bumps or jumps or whatnot apply to attendees in a webinar. Attendees in a webinar are 360. And because that's yet another ladder to climb to actually be given or pay for and get 1080 for webinar attendees, which is a big piece of it, is you can get that bump, that 720 or even 1080 initial bump will apply to webinar panelists, no problem, but it will not carry out to attendees by default. And that's really kind of the last big rung of, you've made it in the Zoom world if you can deliver 1080 to webinar attendees. And so some people, they get pretty upset when they don't realize that that's, the reality after they've, kind of fought and struggled or paid out to up their game in the resolution, and then they deliver a webinar and see this kind of garbage picture. And which, to me, I mean, I understand, the business side, and I don't, really question it. I don't agree necessarily with the backing of it because, it's kind of twofold. Well, I think Zoom could sit there and say, webinars are probably going to be larger groups, right? Could be. I mean, kind of a natural assumption. It could be a large audience. I mean, webinars can support up to 50,000, with extra calls and so forth. They can definitely support the biggest, but on the flip side, when you're delivering a webinar, you are in fact, like, you're gonna spotlight, whether it's a vMix or OBS feed into Zoom, and you're spotlighting that camera, whatever. It's going to be big screen on everybody who's in that webinar. Which means, when my whole point is, you're going to be stretching out a 360 pixel image on everybody. It's like, why would you want to represent yourself that way? You know what I'm saying? And so, the point is it's very expensive to do it at anything higher.
Is that the case with a screen share in a webinar?
Yeah, no, screen shares always take that exception.
Right.
But it's one of those things, but it is what it is. That's why I say behaviors. Understand the behavior and either pay to improve it or find the workaround, or, because no one's going to cheat the system. There's not a lot of cheats out there that I'm aware of, but there are options sometimes, and so knowing that, you just got to know. Now in webinar, you may go to great lengths. Like I can fire up a webinar, I can get 1080 out to the attendees, and I'm broadcasting it, and I know I'm sending 1080, and then all of a sudden it drops to 720, and I go, hey David, hey Craig, everybody, make sure your screens are full screen. So like I know the poll demand is there, right? And I know I can send it, and it's still 720. And this person posted about something like this and said, how do I get 1080 out there? And the first reply, and he was really adamant about it. He said, there's no such thing as 1080 in webinar. And it's like, nah, you're going to open up a can, buddy. And he did. I mean, the Mickeys, the Jeffrey Powers, a bunch of us, replied, no, that's not true. There's definitely 1080 for webinar new attendees. And then his further rebuttal was, no, you got to open up the stats and see and prove that to me, because you can only it will only give you high def at 720, because that's all he's ever seen, even though he's on a 1080 capable account. And so you sit there and you go, is this guy crazy, or is there something going on? And the answer is there I think there is. In fact, there's one scenario that can cause that. So you're on a perfectly capable hardware bandwidth license environment for 1082. That why would a webinar flatten to 720? And this is why. And if there is a device that is not capable, and I don't know exactly what all those rules are, whether it's the CPU or the bandwidth, but if there's a device deemed incapable of 720 or 1080, me, the sender, so let's say I've been sending 1080, and then this, deemed device pops into the webinar, and now we drop to 720. The reason is a single client on a Zoom webinar cannot send two high definition signals, one 720 and one 1080. So Zoom has to globally make the choice to take the entire webinar down to 720, because I can only send one high def signal, and I can send a 360 and a high def, but I can only send a 360 and a single high def. And so it decides it has to drop it to 720. It's an unusual circumstance, but it can occur. And I think that's probably, unfortunately, all this gentleman has experienced. It may, in fact, if that's all he's ever experienced and he's done a lot of webinars, maybe one of his own devices, because it's like always happens. So it's possible. I don't know for sure, but anyways, that's one of those oddities that can in fact happen.
Yeah. This is probably a stupid question, but in that screen you showed me in the settings where it had the statistics, where it had the send and receive of the two formats, what exactly am I looking at there? What does the send and receive mean exactly?
Yeah, so I'll share again so I can bring it up while we talk about it. So the statistics on the tab for overall audio, video, and overall, it's this section right here is your CPU. You've got I've got 8 cores, and there's speed there. Zoom is consuming about 20% of my CPU, and then the whole system. So Zoom's taking about 20% of the 45 that's being used in my computer right now. And then memory, I've got 32 gig in this machine. Zoom is consuming, just over 700 meg. And then the overall system is, out of the 32, is using 8 gig altogether. And then you can break it down. I mean, you can break it down here too. Like, how much bandwidth does Zoom actually require? Here's the answer. I'm sending about 6 megabits up, and I'm pulling down, 2.5 to 3 right now, and so that can, but it's usually kind of hovers around 6 to 8, 6 to 8 gig up and down. So you've got that. Your network type is I'm wired versus wireless, which definitely I'd recommend wired all the time. And then the version that you're running, I'm on the latest build right now at 5.7.5. And so then you can go across to audio for audio quality, the send, where the quality going out and the quality coming in, and then video as well. So video is here. This is the one we always, often look at. Are these last two? Is what's the resolution? So I'm sending it 1080 out. I'm receiving 720 in, and at about 30 frames and 25 frames. And And so it gives you a good idea. And, latency is there, jitter, you've got
is that reflective of if you were recording? Is do those formats right there reflect something to do with what you're recording, or that's just data sending and receiving?
Recording in the cloud, you don't add any local bandwidth constraints because it's all happening up in the cloud, where it's all being sourced anyways, right? And so it's not like it's trying to suck it out of your computer and put it up in the cloud. It is taking you, the host's lead. So David was saying earlier that it records the host system. Just don't translate that into kind of a physical, literal. Is it takes the lead of what's your layout and tells the cloud that's what the host is looking like right now. Go ahead and record that. And I'm not quite sure, mathematically how they transfer that metadata, but I think it's more metadata driven than it is sending all that up to the cloud. I could be wrong, but needless to say. And then screen sharing, when there's a screen share right now. I'm screen sharing my monitor that you're looking at, and you can see, in fact, it's sending that out at 2560 by 1440. My screen share should be pretty crystal clear on your desktop. And that is screen shares trump your video licensing limitations, if you will. And so this is the native resolution of my monitor. That's a 2K monitor. And if I had a 4K monitor, it would do exactly the same thing. It would be a much higher resolution at that. The thing that makes a difference there is if I were to share, I'll do this while we can see it, but if I were to I'm going to share this screen and tell it to optimize it here for a video clip. Now I'll share it. It'll flicker on you probably. Did that flicker at all? A little bit, but you still see the same share. It just kind of reprocessed it. But now
got kind of blurry actually.
Yeah, well, look at the statistic on my share now.
I can barely read it. Oh yeah.
my resolution on my share, although the choice was I optimized it.
Yeah.
It cut my share resolution in half down to 720. And so an optimized share is going to peak out at 720. Same thing, if I played a pre-recorded video that I knew was a 1080 video, if I don't optimize it before playing it, it'll play it at 1080 if you have a 1080 account. But even if I optimize a video, I'll pull one up. I optimize one. I think I've got one on my desktop or close. Let's see. I don't know for sure, but we'll just a second. Get close. Usually just dig for. Here we go. My son on playing his saxophone for an audition. So I'm going to share this video. I know it's a 1080 video. I'm going to use the Zoom video player for share, but I'm not going to optimize it. And we'll look at the statistics when it plays. So it's a video out. I'm sending video, not I'm sending a share, sorry. You can see that it's sending it out at 1080 at about 25 frames a second. That's non-optimized. Now I'll share that same video, but I will in fact optimize it for video. So the guidance is interesting, right? Because it's saying, oh, optimize it for the video clip. And you go, oh, well, that sounds ideal. Well, it depends on what you call optimize, right? Bandwidth optimization is there, kind of a entry level HD. So it keeps it to 720. So it'll let it get up to 720, or it'll peel it down to 720. But 720 is going to be its target. Why? So it can deliver a good frame rate too. I mean, so, it is a trade-off and a balance. So I understand where they're coming from, but let me play that again now, optimized. And we'll see that now, same exact video, optimized, with a little higher frame rate, which is a benefit, but it's at half the well, not half the resolution, it went from 1080 to 720. So it's still high def categorically, but not quite as high a resolution as the video could be.
I could definitely see the resolution drop, but the saxophone playing was just as good in both.
The quality of the sound was, that's
I mean, the playing.
My son Josh would appreciate it. Yeah, what I did forget to do is I didn't turn on original sound, and I should have. See if this makes any difference real quick. Because there's the original sound, which we can dig into a second. But I'm going to play just a piece again with original sound on, which means all the filtering gets turned off. Echo cancellation, noise reduction, things like that, background noise, all that filtering gets turned off. So nothing out of his music will be torn out, if you will. So I don't know what you were hearing before, even if it really had a negative effect or not, but
I don't know if we call it negative, but I think it pulled some of the nuances out of it. It sounded a little bit more full.
Yeah. So that's an important piece is original sound. So and to carry on with that, if I share my monitor here again, if you go to audio settings, and in audio settings, you can go under here, the music and professional audio.
See, right now you have your screen share optimized, so you can't even read the text because it's not. It's lower resolution.
Did I miss that? Yeah. You could easily tell out there.
Yeah, and I can read it. Otherwise, I can read it this way. I can't.
That should have stepped it up. Is that better?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, that was better before, but read it now.
So with that, under the audio settings, it's helpful. This one just says, hey, do you want me to show you the button on the front screen to enable and disable original sound? I always will. I'll always check that. And so then it will make it displayable. And then it shows up here, right here, original sound on or off.
Oh, okay.
If you don't check that, then it won't pop
Nothing
up any longer.
Okay.
And so it's a convenience setting there. And then it says, hey, when you turn original sound on, what do you want to happen? So enable these options when original sound is on. So when it's on, I want high fidelity music mode to be turned on. So I check mark that. I don't want echo cancellation to be on, but I do in fact want stereo audio to be delivered as well. And so that is what original sound is, if you will, so that you can get a cleaner feed there. So when I'm doing like the pre-show before I had to reboot and all, and there was if you were here and there was music, when I play music out of vMix into my Zoom meeting, I always make sure original sound is on, so that's clean. And then when I transition to go on live, then I usually turn original sound off while I'm talking. It's not a have to because I don't have a really noisy room that I'm in, but I go ahead and let it do its job just in case. My son was out trimming bushes literally on the other side of this wall when I first started, and so maybe that would have come through, but with original sound off, it did not. So little things like that to enhance the experience. And so if you're, Craig, are doing shares into this, or you're playing any pre-recorded into those meetings and so forth, now you can double check resolutions and you know how to see and track that, turning on original sound or not. For pre-recorded stuff, you should have it on, and then turn it back off. So the other thing is if somebody is in the meeting, do any of you have a speaker in your room that you're sitting in right now, your office? that you can switch to an open speaker versus your earbud? Go ahead, Joe.
Yep, I got you.
Okay. So I'm coming into Joe's office right now, and you can hear the echo coming back in through his microphone back into the meeting. My guess is that you might have original sound on because
You want it off?
Zoom is capable of filtering that echo out. See what it's doing there? So he turned off his original sound, even though my voice is still coming into his office on an open speaker. Zoom is canceling out that echo, and it does a really fabulous job. So
And where'd you turn that on at? And you turn that on in your settings.
That
the echo
no,
cancellation.
that Joe did that, but what he did was, remember we said have that button display up front.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Original sound is on or original sound is off. He had it on when he first went to speakers, and we heard me echo, but then he turned it off, and that began
stopped.
echo cancel it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So if you ever have somebody, I mean, the first question or the first request is always, hey, can you please put in earbuds, instead of an open speaker? If you happen to be like 5 minutes from going live and that's not an option, then just make sure that their original sound is not on, and that the echo cancellation, I'll add one more point here.
Is that two settings then? You got to turn on the original sound and turn on the echo cancellation?
No, that was
It's all one thing.
That echo cancellation, when original sound is on, echo cancellation is off with this one unchecked. Therefore, when we turn original sound off, echo cancellation turns on. It doesn't show you that, but that's what happens is when it's turned off, echo cancellation kicks in.
Okay.
And
basically, if they have that original sound off, you shouldn't get any of that echo, pretty much, or at least it's
so I'm going to dig a little deeper on this. So I on the bottom of the settings screen here, I clicked advanced, and if somebody has turned off original sound and has speakers, you might want to change the physical position of the speaker, so it's not feeding the microphone. But if you still are having issues, go to this advanced area and tell it to be aggressive. And it says aggressive mode will always cancel any echo caused by your side. And so,
can I interject here just briefly? So when you have that echo cancellation happening, it can distort the voice of the person who is using it. It might sound a little robotic, a little robotic. That's why it sounds like underwater robotic a little bit, or a lot, depending on how much echo cancellation is going on.
Yeah, depending on how hard it has to work. Like I can have echo cancellation on right now, and I do. I think I turned original sound off. So I have echo cancellation on. That's not the problem. It's when Joe on the receiving side, his client has to then filter and remove echo, then all of a sudden it can in fact affect my speaking on this end as well. Not always, but if it's working hard enough, it definitely can. So
yes. So if just speaking and nobody else is, and there's no other sound coming out of his speakers, then there's nothing to cancel. But if other people are speaking, or there's music, or there's a video playing, he's trying to speak, then there's more echo cancellation to be done, and that can distort the voice.
Yep.
I see. Something to watch out for.
Yeah, just another thing. Zoom's got a ton of the tools and switches and knobs, but it's just knowing one, that they exist, two, where are they and how to manage them and so forth. So
well, I've gotten some tremendous help today, so I thank you very much. I know, so I can come back. This is every week you guys do this same time, or how's it?
Yeah. So Zoom OSC is the test kitchen is Thursday at 3 Eastern. Are you back east? You sound like you're back east with your accent.
I'm from Michigan, but I'm in LA.
Are you in LA? Whereabouts in LA?
I'm in Sunland, California, which is north of Burbank.
Okay. I learned how to fly out of Burbank years ago.
Oh, is
lived
that
in
right?
Manhattan Beach, but I
Wow.
always rode my motorcycle up to Burbank and learned how to
Really?
fly.
Wow, that's quite
Yeah.
a ride.
Yeah, it was quite a ride. Even way
Uh,
back then, it's like it was pretty
you,
stupid.
you took classes. You took classes to be a
Yeah.
pilot out of there. Is that what you're saying?
So my flight instructor was he lived out by Magic Mountain, and so he would drive into Burbank. I'd drive up to Burbank, and we would fly there. We'd just rent planes there, and just private instruction that finally got me where I wanted to go.
Are you familiar with
So
Whiteman Airport by any chance? A small little airport.
Whiteman is where my torn T-shirt came from. That's where I soloed. Yeah.
So I live pretty
Yep.
close to Whiteman. My neighbor
Okay.
my neighbor was getting his license. He was going to go all the way to Van Nuys. I said, why don't you check Whiteman out? So he went over there, and that's where he got his pilot's
It's a great
license.
little strip. And
He bought his own plane there. Oh yeah.
Windy days are pretty brutal. When I was a student and I had my ticket to fly solo, and then you get signed off to fly solo, but within limitations. Well, yeah, I was within my limitations while I was pre-flighting, but the winds picked up more and I didn't pay attention to them. So I went ahead and took off, and I was landing Whiteman for practice. It scared the life out of me. It was that windy. I literally thought I was going to die. And because I landed, I took back off, and I was just holding against the wind. It was crazy. And I went right back and landed like a beaten little boy, It was crazy.
Well, I'm glad you didn't die, Jeff. I'm glad you made it through that
They made a movie about it, okay?
Yeah. I learned how to land on, because there's in the aviation space anyways, there's a documentary called 16 Right, which is Van Nuys Airport.
Yes, I actually have
it's
that.
their bigger one. And then I guess there's supposed to be a 16 Left now also, but I learned how to land on 16 Left. I mean, and it was I almost gave up.
That's at Burbank Airport, the 16
No, that was Van Nuys.
Oh, that was at Van Nuys. Okay.
Did my landings at Van Nuys and did my solo at Whiteman, and then we always took off out of Burbank.
You familiar with the old United Airport right next to Burbank Airport, the old airport from the early days of aviation? No, you never. Yeah, Disney bought it, but there's an old airport that was where Amelia Earhart took off when she went on her trip where she never came back.
Really?
The first commercial flight from LA to New York was flown by Lindbergh out of that airport. And
Burbank, or
it's
east? What direction?
It's a little south of Burbank Airport. It's not an airport anymore. It's been closed down for years. There's a road. The road called Airway is the old runway, so you can drive down Airway.
It's pull it up on the maps and look that up.
Yeah, look at United. I think it was called United. Yeah, United.
Because once there's an airstrip, you can almost via satellite, you can almost always see it from a satellite image, even after it's gone. Like there's always the definition.
Yeah, I think you'd see it. Plus, the control tower of the airport's still there, and Disney bought it and turned it into offices. But the control tower is still there. It's pretty cool.
What was it called?
It's all Art Deco. I think it was the United Airport. It's before the Burbank Airport existed. As soon as they closed it down, they opened up the Burbank Airport. So it was and I think it opened in the 1920s or something. So it was a very early aviation spot. That movie Hell's Angels that Howard Hughes did? A lot of the flights came out of that airport.
So you're saying just a little south, because there's not a lot of south space.
There was a guy named Brand who was a big aviation guy back in the early teens, and his driveway went straight from his mansion right to the airport. And it's like a road that runs totally against all the grain of the roads in the city, except that was his driveway to the airport from his mansion.
What did you say that the street was called?
Airway, I think it's called. Here, I should look it up.
I'll look it up.
It's in is it Burbank or Glendale? I guess it's Burbank. Yeah, it's Burbank and Airway.
I'll have to find it. It's huge interest of mine.
Yeah, look into it. It's a really, really cool area. I take people there. I used to be a historian here in my hometown, so I know a lot of the history of these stories. Look up Leslie Brand. That's the guy that he had a lot to do with the airport. That'll lead you to the airport. If you look Leslie Brand in Glendale. I thank you so much, Jeff, for your help. How long does this usually last? What do you guys do? Is it a certain time? Or you just go till everybody peters out, or what?
We just go till we poop out. I mean, we schedule it. My invite says 2 Central to 4 Central, but
okay.
We've been known to, I bet twice in a year we've ended at an hour and a half in, but we've gone as long as probably 4 hours,
And
sometimes.
is this something you do on your own? Is this something that Zoom is part of? Is this what is
No,
this
I
exactly?
do it on my own.
This,
I
is
fired
your
it up,
thing. Huh?
fired
Wow.
it up on my myself and thought, man, I've got plenty to share, but I also have plenty to learn, and so there's nothing like a community that can help that.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, Zoom is very aware of the Zoom Test Kitchen, and they, like I said, next week, this will be the second time official Zoom folks are coming into the kitchen. They come from their large events team, and so they're pretty aware of who we are and what we're doing. I mean, to get the Zoom events team, kind of that conversation started to invite them in for next week. It's just a reaching out to the team, or in this case, I wrote an email to the CTO first because I didn't know who to contact necessarily, but I know him, and so it's just it's a really friendly group. No matter how far up the chain you go, it's the culture of the company is phenomenal. So
this is a tremendous resource. So I thank you being here to help, man.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming in. Hey, who sent you? You
I
said
got
somebody.
sent. Yeah, well, I sent
was it
to
Benjamin or Andy
yeah,
or Jonathan?
Well, basically, Benjamin told me I needed to talk to Andy, but apparently Andy's on vacation till next week. So they sent me to you. So they sent me here.
Yeah, there you go.
They said, go here, see if you can figure out what you got to do.
Just keep coming. Well, go to the. Oh, I told you I was going to publish that. Hang on, let me get you these links.
And then to get back to this meeting, do I need to be invited, or just how do I get into these meetings every week?
Well, I'm going to give you 2 links. I'm going to give you the one to the YouTube, so you can watch some of the archives. This is fairly fresh. I think it goes back like maybe 5 weeks right now. Although we've been doing this for over a year now. But here's the link to YouTube. Send this out to everybody. That's the YouTube channel. And then let me get you the Facebook group. If you join the Facebook group on Facebook, then you'll actually receive the invitation each week as well. And do you registered on the way in today?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So I send out invites via.
Oh, to the register. Okay.
Not every week on that, but every once in a while. The ones I do every week come from Facebook events.
Well, I'm excited to test out some of the things you taught me today. I actually think that you may have given me some tools to at least be able to do what I need to do, and then I can enhance how I do it as I go.
Yeah. So here's the link to the Facebook group. If you click on that, and then just click on join, answer a couple simple questions. And I know who you are at this point. The questions and answers don't really matter. There, there's a lot of people who post, questions and answers in that group, and also the events and invites come from there as well. There's got almost 800 members in there right now, and just continues to grow. So, but yeah, it's a great network of folks and knowledge and all that. There's other Zoom groups out there as well, and we're all friendly to one another and just out to help. I don't think any of them are doing meetings like this. They have the groups, but I just feel like it's a great get together. Especially if we're like in business, as well. We some of us work together now or do jobs occasionally together, and yeah, it's just a great network. So yeah, glad to have you here being a part of it.
All right.
So come join us anytime. Thursday. Oh, there's also look up no spacing Zoom OSC Test Kitchen.
Yeah.
You can join that one also, and then that's on Thursdays. And yesterday in Zoom OSC Test Kitchen, it was just a pure workshop. I mean, we just kind of laid out a project and shared and did, and kind of struggled through spots and got through them. And, it was literally just going to study hall, if you will. Sometimes, most of the time, Andy or somebody, Benjamin's had a really busy summer, so we haven't seen Benjamin in a while, but he used to be there every week, and he'll be back. But anyways, yeah, lots of good stuff.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to putting some of that stuff to a test. I got a whole list of things here to try out and work on, and I have a lot to learn. So I'll be working at it.
says in the chat, we need a Zoom ISO test kitchen. It's like, I need more days in the week then.
I did talk to them about using Zoom ISO, and I think Zoom ISO might be great for me, but it's just kind of, I think it's too cost prohibitive for me to do Zoom ISO.
Yeah.
I think. So I believe.
You do. There's a point there where you have to, justify you have to have enough work, not too many jobs a month, to cover the cost.
That's true. If you can build up other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to head out from you, Mina. Thank you very much, though, for everything, and I'm sure we'll meet again. But I appreciate your time and your help.
Good meeting you.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Take care, bud. All right. There's 2 Jeffs. Thanks to Shrikant. Coming on camera today, Shrikant. Probably working, keeping busy.
No cameras today. I'm just testing stuff out for next week.
Got ISO working well?
Yeah, but I'm having troubles in purchasing the ISO. Tested different cards. I even reached out to Andy. He said he will send me an alternate payment gateway, because I think the payment gateway has been having some problem. Because I tested all Visa cards, MasterCard, American Express card also. It's not been working. I'm just using the trial version now, but we'll be getting Vans on the paid version. Should be by next.
So you just can't finalize a purchase right now, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, if you I think Andy, if you don't know that, if you're up against if you have, solid intent to purchase and you have a gig coming up and you need, I'm sure there's some way he can work it out and then take care of the, the transaction or whatnot. He's pretty flexible, real guy. So, but
yeah.
Oh, very good. Good. So, Pete, are you there? Are you just listening today? I see your static image. Haven't seen you in the kitchen a couple times lately, but you've been busy, I think, with work. And Joe, what have you been up to?
Yeah, I've been trying to put together a sports package. So I'm doing some graphics and a scoreboard, and doing the live view solo thing. And I also hooked up. I'm using. Just started testing out using. Sorry, I'm losing my mind here now. Speedify, because I have 2 internet connections in my studio, so I'm testing out Speedify as a hot failover. Seems pretty good. Hardware solutions are just out of my budget right now, but the Speedify solution seems to be.
I've heard. I haven't used it, but I've heard really good things about Speedify. So let me know. Be interesting.
I've been putting it through its paces, and so I'm streaming. What testing I did do was I was sending out a stream and just manually disconnecting one of my internet connections at a time, and it seemed flawless. Just glitch-free failover from one to the other. So I tested it the other. Then I tested it the other way around, bringing a vMix call into my computer using the Speedify, and again doing the same thing, disconnecting manually one internet connection at a time. And I want to say about 60% of the time it's glitchless, and about 40% of the time there's about a second that it freezes, but it doesn't disconnect. Yeah, that's good. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I'll take a 1 second freeze over a disconnect.
Yeah. Oh, no question. Yeah. When you start losing connection and they lose the stream and they leave, that's a problem. Big problem. Yeah. So very good.
pretty happy with it, and they got a pretty good deal right now, $5 a month if you sign up for 3 years and with a 30-day right to cancel. So I'm on that right now.
There you go. Kuhn, how are you?
I did have to unmute my microphone.
There you
I
go.
did some further experiments
Yeah.
with a graphics controller I found. It's called SPX graphics controller. I'll put a link in the chat room.
Okay.
It presents a graphical layer over, for instance, OBS. It can communicate with Casper graphical controller. And well, it serves my needs. I'm working here with 2 keyboards. Here's the link in the chat. I'm using it for lower thirds and other announcements in my stream, and it's completely adjustable. It's Finnish. It's made by it's a side product of the creative director of the Finnish television.
Mm.
And I've been working with it for a couple of weeks now, and I'm quite, well, I fell in love with the application. I'm going to use it the first time next Monday during our first meeting after the summer of the City Council. The biggest advantage is that you can remotely control the graphics controller. So it makes I'm always sitting. I'm a city clerk, and I'm sitting next to the chairman. I'm not pushing any buttons, but it is possible for me to control the graphics from my iPhone or my iPad or whatever. Well, you should take a look at it. It's very nice.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
I'll definitely be
How
trying that out.
much? How much is it going, William?
It's free. It's free, and if you want to, they deliver a couple of free templates which you can use. You can even adapt those templates, change things in it. And if you want to make more complex templates, you can hire in the services of the man who built it. So.
They have a scoreboard there.
Yeah, they have a scoreboard. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check it out. I mean, I probably spent 3-4 days just building a scoreboard and programming my Stream Deck to operate it.
Yes.
So, but I want to check this out too.
Yeah, do it. Do it. It's a very nice guy. He is always, if you want to chat with him, he's always, well, he does sleep, I think, but he's mostly the biggest part of the day he's available. So you can reach him on his website. So there is, of course, a timing, another time zone with Finland. It's in the near, but he can help you if you want to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I've been doing last week.
I'll have to dig around on this. Looks pretty intriguing.
Yes.
Always fun to see a new tool that's good, well done. Looks like it's well developed.
Yes. Yes.
Very good.
Yeah, what I'm seeing with a cursory look is, you know, I use vMix, and the vMix GT title editor has a lot of animations, but they're not as cool looking as the animations I'm seeing here. So
yes. Yeah. Well, you can see this developer is working at for television shows. So you can see it in the animations he's using. It's a lot of broadcasting level. How do you say?
Broadcast quality or
broadcast quality. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very good. Well, thanks for sharing that. That's good.
Okay. Welcome.
Good stuff. Well, I am we're just over the 2-hour mark. Kind of a short get together, but plenty of content and discussion. Having Craig come in and bear down on some areas there is great. And any other questions or areas of test or trial that you guys want to hit before we call it a day? Take
It's
that
almost
as a
Yeah,
no.
Jeff.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jeff. It's been a long time since I have joined the test kitchen since I was busy with the event.
I
But
know.
have you get your hands on with the ISO and what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I have Zoom ISO running right next to me. Actually, I have not done anything with it in particular, but yeah, it's in the meeting. Here, let me pop up a couple, see if I'm sure it's working. Color LCD 1080, create 2 outputs. I'll put me in one and Joe in the other. Let's see if this is where I was not getting the feed. I may need to reboot this Mac because something was not feeding right yesterday, and looks like it's still might be there, but I'm on a beta too, so I can never complain. But up to this point, I have used it, not in big productions, but small production in the kitchens for probably the last 4 weeks, and it's been quite cool. I mean, there's certain little things about about it that you have to, I think pretty sensitive to some hardware, and at least mine, some of my hardware and the external monitors and stuff like that, where I had to spend some time figuring out what resolutions that the monitors needed to be at so that I wouldn't get these kind of offset images and so forth. But once I nailed that down, it has done really, really well since. So I've been really happy.
Okay.
With what it's producing. Oh, I can see why I'm not getting an image. I think
Nice. So
color LCD.
today when I joined first time, the ISO feeds were not working, but then I had to disconnect and then join back. Might be because I'm using a trial version, but yeah, just to sync things around how it works and how I can implement this in our workflow.
Cool.
Hey, Jeff,
Yeah,
this is
I can't-
Jeremy.
Yeah, Jeremy.
Hey, just want to let you know I actually had a successful event, medical training for participant or for presenters. Use Zoom ISO. I had 2 1080 feeds and 4 720 feeds coming into vMix. It worked very well. The funky thing was we were using Zoom ISO going into a Teams meeting that the client was used to. So that was a little funky, turning off one and turning on the other for the presenter, going kind of between an interactive section and then his presentation. But everything tech-wise was solid and worked very, very well.
Awesome.
And I appreciate all you guys helping me through all that. I listen in the background a lot. A lot of times I'm sitting there testing stuff as I'm listening to you guys. So you guys always put me on the right track.
We love watching you doing your troubleshooting or your wire repairs or driving the truck with equipment sitting in your warehouse. It's great, man. I'm glad you still reach out and get tuned in, man. So I really appreciate that, and good having you as part of our community. So that's awesome. I love hearing the success stories. So keep those flowing for sure. And they're getting close to releasing the next version 4.0.5, and where they'll have two different downloads, the NDI 4 or NDI 5 version, and depending on really primarily, Andy says it's if you're a hardware switcher you'll probably be more pushed to to make that move versus NDI5. If I went NDI5, I'd have to have I'd have to pull out the DLLs in vMix and get them upgraded, and not for a real big bang benefit there. So, but to each their own. They'll be ready to support it, and we got a lot of good things out there, and more coming. So thrilling to be a piece of it, to watch it and support it. So, anyways, well,
By the
very
way,
good.
Jeff, you were mentioning you had a desktop with linings according to the resolution of your images.
Yeah. Let me.
Can you share it?
Yeah, let me pull it up. I'll show you what it is, and then if you want the file, you can have that too.
And while yeah, Jeremy, thanks for that case study you did, because I'm also working on the medical industry a lot. So that would be the best use case for me of using ISO into the vMix workflow.
I'm on Discord if you have any questions or want to bounce ideas off each other. I'm learning a lot. So I come from the the physical kind of corporate AV space. So going from putting up projectors and speakers and wireless mics and everything to doing virtual. So it was a little nerve wracking leading up to it yesterday, but it worked very well. Yes, I'd be happy to bounce ideas and learn from you guys too, for sure.
Sure, I'll connect with you on Discord.
So that's the wallpaper.
Yeah,
that has those. And so I mean, the reason I had done it way back when is that it's the outer edge of the colored border. So right there would be the top of the window, and there would be the left edge right there. And so I used to, I would do examples of kind of a small video window without a 1080 demand, but as I stretched it and you spoke, you could literally see in the video statistics as I stretched it, not a lot of jumps. It would go, sometimes I'd catch a 180 to 360 right there, and then I'd get, if I was on a 720 bumped account, this would give me 720 right here. But because I'm on a 1080 account, it doesn't bother with the 720. It'll go from the 360 to the 1080, and then anything larger. So it's a good, it's been a good teaching tool to really show just how incredibly dynamic that Zoom is always making decisions. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you did count it pixel by pixel?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it depends on the.
It was built in Photoshop.
Yes.
When I choose the guide tool, I can tell if it's an exact fixed size, and I just draw out the numbers, and then I create the guide and then just create a border off of it. Okay. So yeah.
Right.
Let me see if I can pull it up off my file system and drop it in chat. I don't even know what the file name is, but I've got a preview. I'll see if I can recognize it here. Oh, there it is. Okay. There you go.
Ah,
It's
great.
in chat.
I forgot it. Very nice. Thank you very much, Jeff. Yes,
Yeah, no worries.
great.
All right. I'm going to call it a day, start my weekend. Good
Yeah.
to see you. All of you watching and listening. And Jeremy, yeah, you're still here. So have a good weekend as well.
Same to you guys. Bye.
All right. We'll see you again.
Have a good day. Just see you.